All right. Having a little difficulty with Clubhouse. Telling me to share. So I shared. But how about now? How about now to go live? Why is it not giving me to go live? All right. Clubhouse. Sorry, I'm trying to get onto it. Let's see if I go out. Go back in. Maybe I'll have more success. Oh, start event. Sometimes you just have to go out and come back in. Maybe that's the lesson of life, right? It's like going to sleep. You had a bad day. Sometimes just go to sleep and wake up new day. Okay, welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We share today with Brett in Pennsylvania and with Chana back. Oh, okay, back in Montreal. Welcome back. All right, this will be a very special Shabbos. John in North Carolina, shalom. Rabbi in Morocco has joined us. Amy in Colorado, welcome. Mark, Santa Rosa. Leah in Florida. Michael in Germany. Clem in Brisbane, Australia. David in the West Coast in California. Joseph in New Jersey. Eugenia in Calgary. Stan in London, England. Sarah in Uganda from the Abbas Israel Congregation Synagogue. Wow, amazing. Davida Liba in New York. Clem in Brisbane. Rusty in Texas. Susanna is in Miami. Erin has joined us. Okay, good. Diane, Arizona. Cindy, Florida. Tim in Texas. Moshe in Anaheim. Karen in Dallas. Jane is in the Philippines. Who else? Sandy, Michigan. David, not certain from where. Leia, I think I mentioned. Francesco in Italy. Daphne is in South Carolina. Rena in Colorado. All right. Beautiful. We have the King with us in Chicago. Aaron is in Missouri. Jerry in Texas. Yarrow in Mexico, if I remember correctly. I miss anybody? Okay, I hope I didn't. We have Michael. We have Akoya in Lima, Peru. We have Alice in Baltimore. We have Jersey It. We have Jennifer in Minnesota. Some others I can't make out so easily. We have in Turkey, Meten with us. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Francesco. Oops. Okay. The essence of God, of course, is beyond any kind of description. It's infinite. Even to say that God is infinite is giving a parameter. What, he's infinite? He's not finite? He's either infinite or finite. He's beyond any kind of description. We will call it infinite because in the end we need to use human terminology that we're familiar with, and that kind of gives us some kind of semblance of understanding. And then we have the divine attributes of God, which were the names of God, Havaya, Elohim, divine attribute of kindness, infinite kind of giving. There we can have maybe something called infinite, if you will, because that is a descriptive term. So it's infinite. The truth is it's infinite because it's one with the essence of God. Infinite giving, bringing into creation something from nothing. And then you have the Shem Elohim, right? But in the final analysis, in human terms, kindness is a cause for you to express your kindness in action or in words, right? Being charitable or saying a loving word to somebody. The reason for that is because in the divine order of things, likewise, the Word of God is the expression of that kindness of the creative force of God. That Word of God is the breath of His mouth that enclosed itself in the utterances, the 10 utterances that the Torah speaks about. Let there be light, let there be the firmament that's placed above, and so on and so forth. Now, when we think about that breath of the mouth of God, as it were, right, in a figure of speech, so we would think of it in a limited form, but in fact, being that it is an expression of the divine kindness, and the divine kindness is one with the Ein Sof, so likewise, this is also one with the Ein Sof, with the limitlessness of God, with the essence of God. And therefore, if it were merely, shall we say, from the breath of God's mouth and His utterance to be the creative process, well, we wouldn't have a finite, limited world, just as God's not finite and limited, right? Because in that word is enclosed the attribute of God, limitless attribute of God, that is one with its source. So it's only because, as we've been explaining, that was introduced the idea of tzimtzum, of contraction. Only because of the contraction is there now a finite world. In other words, it's not inherent that in the Word of God that there would be a finite world, right? It's only because contraction brings that about. Now, how's that contraction expressed? In the finer details of everything, it's expressed by three ways. It's expressed by taking combinations of letters, transpositions of letters, and then the value of a letter. And each one is a greater come down. But before we get into that, let me just share, for those who can see, the letter Aleph. This is the first letter. Now, this letter, the shape of the letter, the numeric value of the letter, the meaning of the letter, it all expresses something about that letter being a vital force of God that brings vitality to a particular created being, or part of a created being, as we will see. So the letter Aleph means commander. Well, and it's number one commander, God. Through his creation, he commands the world. He leads the world. Ultimately, he is the world, or the world is of him. The word Aleph is also the same letters spelled Pella, wondrous, or Ophel, darkness, or Alphin, to teach. Ultimately, we're to teach that the darkness is really something wondrous of God. If you take the letter Aleph, this is a Yud, this is another Yud, upside down Yud. And this is a Vav. Yud is numeric value 10, another 10, 20, and Vav is the sixth letter, so it's numeric value of 6. You have not 26 over here. The name of God, Yud Ke Vav Ke, is the number 26 in its written form, in the numeric count. All this is just partially to show us that there's, vitality in this very creative force that is to ultimately is the Word of God is of an infinite nature, but because God introduces Tzimtzum, so that Tzimtzum brings a contraction on the word and the breath of his being to come down and be a creative force. So what shows on the Tzimtzum, on the contraction, is the fact that you're not using the exact letter itself as it is in the 10 utterances, but that you are now taking what's called a tziruf, a combination of letters. So you're going to take from the 10 utterances the way they are in the Torah, and then you're going to take the letter Aleph from Or. I'm giving this by way of example. This letter Aleph, right? It's in the word Or, which means light, and God said, let there be light. And you're going to take the letter Shin from the word Shemesh, sun, and you're going to put the two letters together. Now that shows on a come down, which is the concept of Tzimtzum. Why is it a come down? Because it's not the original letters the way they are in the combinations, the way they are in the Torah. Right? This is some Kabbalah over here. So that combination shows up come down meaning contraction. And that's the force then, those letters, that brings into creation a limited thing called Aish, which means fire. It's interesting. Fire is a combination of light and the sun. Other things, it's Tamura, which means a transposition of letters. So, for example, we had this in the word echad. The letter aleph of echad can be transpositioned with the letter vav because they're both connective letters, or connective letters. So therefore the aleph in echad of one, the oneness of God, and the word va'ed, eternal, you can transposition them. That shows, again, of a come down. The fact that you're transpositioning letters, you're exchanging the letter. The first one was you're taking the letter and you're just now making a different combination to bring into being this being called fire, by way of example. Well, the Alter will give a different example shortly, but I'm giving examples that's not here today, but just to give us a concept. So you can now take the aleph of echad, of oneness of God, and then change it to the vav. Again, that's showing on a come down, because you're transpositioning letters, because they have a relationship, the aleph and the vav. So that shows a come down. So the first one was a higher level of unity, and of Hashem, Hero Israel, the Lord of God, the Lord is one, higher level of unity, and then there's a come down, a lower level of unity, when you change the aleph for the vav. That's called exchange. Another way to exchange is the letter aleph is related to, the first letter is related to the very last letter. As we know, the beginning is rooted in the end is rooted in the beginning, right? So the letter taf, so you can change the letter aleph for taf, or taf for aleph. Again, what is that showing when you do that? That letter is not the original letter, so to speak. It's a transposition of letters, and therefore it's showing on a come down of vital energy, of a contraction of the divine life force. That's called atbash. Aleph for taf, at, and bash, second letter, base, for the second last letter, shin, base for shin, or shin for base, and so on, right? Now, you're still left with the very letter itself and the content of the letter. A further come down is called cheshbon. Cheshbon means the arithmetic, the numeric value of something. So, in other words, you're just a number, right? As in the Holocaust, as a Jew was really, just a number in the camps. So we understand that's really a come down. So likewise, in the idea here of that this is not the content of the letter, as I explained some of the content, there's so much more content here that I'm not going to explain now. It's just the numeric value of it. So it's not the content, it's just the number that it represents, which is a real come down, contraction, meaning it's showing on the contraction of the infinite word, breath of God, the utterance of God that now has been contracted upon, that it comes down to merely a numeric value of the letter that is now animating something from nothing, this created thing. Further come down. So the example is given of Evan, a stone. Well, a stone is inanimate, so it's a real come down, a contraction of the divine light. Evan is made up of the letter Aleph. As he says, as why that's there is only known to its creator. Other places he explains, but. And then what's left is the letter Beis Nun. With Beis Nun is 52. Beis is second letter, Nun is 50, so you have 52, which is actually one of the names of God when you spell it out. Yud Vav Daled, numeric value of 20. Hey is hey, 10. Vav is Vav, is, right, to say the word Vav means two Vavs there, right? 12. And then hey again, 10. So 20, 10, and 10 is 40. Plus 12 is 52. That's the name of God, that it's now only a number. That number shows on a come down. Yes, it's those letters that are now the animating force of an inanimate object called Evan, stone. That shows on a condensed life force. As God fills the world, how does he fill the world? With his contraction of the breath of his mouth, the utterance of his that are inherently infinite, but he contracts upon it in such a way. And again, the metaphor for that is the combination of letters, the transposition of letters, and the numerical value of letters has even a further come down, that now God fills everything of this universe with this mug animating something from nothing, in the letters that animated, in the stone that is animating the stone, and in that which animates me and you and everything else in creation. That's how you and I are here as limited beings by the letters of animation, or the Word of God. This is now leading us to have an understanding of the unity of God that is coming from the lower level where there is a reality of something, and that something is nothing else but God. Right? But that's... So I know that this was, shall we say, Kabbalistic, mystical, you know. But I hope I explained it well. Did you get it? Any questions, any comments? Arlene, I'm sure you're good as right now. You're just going to become better. Sure, Jonathan. Let's hear good news. Thank you for joining, Jonathan. Okay. I don't see any questions. Oh, Aaron has a question. Should this teaching be kept? Teaching be kept in mind while saying Shahakol Bidvarai. Oh, very good, Aaron. So we make the blessing that over water, over fish, anything that doesn't grow, right? Otherwise, it grows from the ground. You make very priyadama, a blessing over the food. The fruit of the earth, or very priya eitz, or fruit of the tree, if it's grows from a tree. When it comes to other things, so we make the general blessing, Shahakol, that everything, Nihiyah, came into being, Bidvaro, with his word. So actually, Aaron, yeah, if we can keep in mind when we make a blessing, imagine you're about to eat something, you make a blessing. First of all, to make a blessing, that itself is an amazing thing. That we're mindful that this is coming from God. But Shakol Nebidvaro, that this came, that everything comes into being by his word. Wow. And to keep in mind that that word is animating this thing that I'm going to engage and eat right now. It's pretty powerful. That's quite a tremendous thing to be able to do. What mindfulness that is, and it's beautiful. Yeah, so definitely that would be a good thing to have in mind. The fact that this is being animated right now by the Word of God, they're bringing it into existence. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Aaron. Bella, did God give himself his name? Yeah, in the Torah, absolutely. Jane has a question. Qualifying one's value is a lower level of one's essence. Like I did those and that. Qualifying one's value is a lower level of one's essence. Yeah, the essence, just like the essence of God is beyond, so likewise, our essence being in the image of God, a part of God, is also beyond. Then when you have qualities that you qualify, right, those are lower. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Any other comments, questions? So then we will continue our conversation as we finish chapter 7, which chapter 7 was like the very core teaching. And we will continue in our conversation, our learning, and our growth together. A reminder, TRC tomorrow at 4:30. Yeah, a possibility. Well, of maybe something tonight. We'll have to some learning tonight. Torah studies maybe. Anyways, Rambam now. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining. God bless.